I have a confession to make.
I have a confession to make.
I have a confession
to make.
I have an addiction that some of you may share.
I have an addiction that some of you may share.
I have a confession to make. I have an addiction that some of you may share. Now, when you hear the word addiction, you may be thinking of alcohol addiction, going out and partying too much, or gambling addiction, blowing your life savings on the spin of a roulette wheel. Or even drug addiction may be what comes to mind. No, none of those are my addiction. This addiction is a little more subtle. I'm talking about solar addiction. Now, I know that sounds strange, but give me a minute to explain. I have had a grid-tied system with microinverters for over 10 years, probably closer to 20, and did see some difference in my electric bill. Enough to say that the math came out on the positive end. But over the past 4 years, I've been researching whole home solar energy systems, or as they say in the industry, ESS, energy storage systems, microgrids, and started this small critical load system that took about 7 circuits off the grid most of the time. Depending on the weather, weather's always going to be something that messes you up sometimes. I'll be making a video describing that experience in the near future. When I saw how much difference that would make on my electric bill, I became fascinated with being completely off the grid for the whole house, better known as energy independence. Being energy independent is my new obsession. Through my research, I came to realize that a hybrid inverter is probably the way for me to go so that I could still get some use out of my grid-tied array, add some energy storage, and basically I'd narrowed it down to 2 hybrid inverters as potential candidates for the central component in my new system. Now, I know there are other inverters on the market, but these were in the price range that I thought I could live with, and price is always a big contributing factor to any decision, especially about the investment this large. So the first one that I had my eyes on was kind of high on the price. You know, I always want to get the best I can get and try to stay within some kind of budget, but was the Sol-Ark 15K, which had only been on the market since 2022, but the predecessors to that 15K was the 8K and the 12K, and they were doing pretty well on the market and were getting really good reviews that seemed pretty impressive for bang for the buck wise. The second candidate that I came across was the EG4 18K PV, which was the new beast on the block and was basically designed to challenge the Sol-Ark 15K for whole home energy independence and home backup power applications. Both inverters have a lot of similar specs. Both have that 200 amp bypass. The max AC output is roughly about 15 kilowatts with PV, you know, with some solar coming in. Without that, you'd probably only get about 12 kilowatts of continuous power from the batteries alone. Some differences, but you know, some similar specs, so they were pretty close. The more I read reviews and watched videos, and the more I wanted to go with the Sol-Ark 15K because of Sol-Ark's longevity on the market and the glowing customer reviews about their tech support. But the price difference was big enough that I was still tempted to go with the EG4 18K PV, which was the new kid on the block. I even got to the point where I was putting shopping carts together, going to different distributors, you know, putting the 18K and the batteries in there so I could see what it would cost with the shipping and the whole 9 yards, so I could try to keep my budget tight. Now, I know everybody's going to laugh at that because when you're doing this stuff, you're probably going to blow your budget. It's something that's probably going to happen. So you always want to put a little extra cushion in there no matter what your numbers come out. As fortune would have it, I did find a free shipping deal that, along with a 5% discount code that I had found online for Solar Sovereign, the price between getting the Sol-Ark 15K and the 18K PV was just a few $100. At this point, it was a no-brainer. I had just come off of a really bad experience with another manufacturer, and I really didn't want to have that experience again. Tech support was horrible, the time difference, the tech support was in China, the language barrier, having to start from zero every time that I got on the phone with them or was emailing them, even though I had a case number, weeks between responses. It was horrible. So tech support reviews on the Sol-Ark was the final nail in the coffin for me and made me go with the Sol-Ark 15K.
Alive! It's alive! It's alive!
And now I have two Sol-Ark 15Ks. Now I did go with EG4's batteries. They've been great to me. And my monster has been a beautiful thing. I've been able to run my entire home with the grid as backup for about 6 months now, with no issues at all, for about 88.5% of the time. That was what the math said the last time I put pen to paper. And yes, I'm trying to get rid of that last 11.5%. Now, this is my first summer with this system. And as I suspected when I started building this system, I do need more PV. I'm going to build a solar pergola next to my house to add some PV so that I can charge up my batteries faster.